Hello, everyone. We're Locomotive from Montreal. This is Montreal right now. No joke. So Daniel, our studio director, decided to show up on cross-country skiing at the office.
Pretty amazing, right? Well, that's Canadian culture for you guys.
So I like to think it's a good thing that I've never worked in any other agency before. As the agency co-founder and VP operation, while managing our team, I do wear a lot of hats and put out the agency's fires every day. This is me with my daughter. She's a big fan of face swap. So a couple of years ago, I realized one thing that some of you can relate to. I realized don't try to be a creative if you're not. If you're the business side like me, let the creative be. Try to limit the damage, but always encourage creativity. That's why, at a turning point in Locomotive's growth, we started hiring people more talented than we are. That might seem obvious, but it was the beginning of a whole new era for us.
So, hello, I'm Sébastien, but everybody knows me as Dust. I'm traditionally a traditional graphic designer that shifted to web like in the late 2000s. I have a beautiful daughter. I would say the second cutest, because I want to keep my job.
Second cutest.
So I direct the agency with my very good friend, Louis Paquet. You see us in action there at the agency. That's how we run things. And you want to talk about the team, man?
Yeah. So 12 years ago, I was on unemployment insurance when Locomotive started in Montreal. I was like, I have not much to do except playing World of Warcraft all day. One thing though, we had no money, no leads, and most importantly, no clients. Frédéric was a real warrior. Now Locomotive's president and creative director was working daytime in another agency, then doing mock-ups at night for me to go pitch to random clients. Now we're here in front of you in Amsterdam, and we're super grateful about this. Special thanks to awwwards. Now let's meet the team.
Well, thank you, that's us. So, our talk today is work hard, play harder, a case for meaningful environments. So if you're here tonight, probably as some of you are team leaders or actually driving a collaborative force, you might ask yourself a couple questions. First, how can we improve our team's productivity? How can we increase our employee or collaborators' engagement with our brand and project? How can we really make them important to our business endeavor? And foremost, how can we make better UX out of this? So as a small team, we don't pretend we have all the answers, but we want to share to you tonight how we create meaningful environments for creativity and engagement. So first of all, let's define those two environments. So for us, there's the play environments, which refers really to the ecosystem of the agency, really like where people interact together. And of course, our work environment, probably like yours, it's the digital space, the code in which we work. And for us, really, it's to achieve a balance between these two environments to have some sense of comfort, a bit like this dog right there. So, of course, the link between user experience and employee experience is like kind of a hot topic these days. There's a lot of talks, there's a lot of stuff around it, especially because both environments share a lot of the same stuff. For example, the principle we use to put our people first in the office is actually the same principle we use to create our best experiences. And that's pretty cool. So if you think of it, of course, when you're designing, you put the user first. When you're building a team, you put the employee first. The connection between the both is really empathy. It's about putting your people first. And as a UX designer, you create those scenarios all the time to put yourself at the place of the user. But as a team leader, you also have to do this and really focus on the individuals and craft a journey for them so we are very collaborative and functional. So what are the driving factors for this? Obviously, it's about being effective, productive, and getting the work done right. So when you work effectively in that context, you're editing your journey. It's really crafting it around your people. And they become your priority, and your project becomes their priority. So edit your journey. Click. Exit your journey so your people come first. So how do we create these meaningful environments for creativity? Being a team of 25 developers, designers, and managers, tackling a lot of projects each year in a, let's say, cutthroat industry, you need to adapt fast, communicate well, and really, really trust your teammates. And that's why, as leaders, we always try to give people an environment to craft their best work. So how do we do that? Of course, we have our process. We work abstract to concrete. We work in context, and we adapt all the time. So let's tackle the first thing, our process. So let me throw out a space analogy to you. Instead of viewing your process as linear, going from point A to point B, try to see it as a planet, building from its core and changing to its environment. So that's how we work at Locomotive. We really start digging, analyzing, and bringing the UX strategy alive with a content strategy at first. But then before going into the real process, we stop and we prototype and test our cutting-edge ideas. Then we go into the traditional content design and developing, and of course our QA and deployment of the platform. But the point is really to see that all process as your UX. It's not just the wireframe at the start of the project, but really all that process is your environment shaping as you go along. Another thing we do is work in context, and probably a lot of you guys do it, but we use prototyping. And actually in the State of UX 2019, working away from the artboard and directly in the code is actually a trend for this year. So let me throw another analogy to you. If you were a sculptor, like this one, would you sketch all day and wait for the final clay delivery? No. You would jump directly into your raw material and test your ideas right away. And that's what we like to do at Locomotive. We like to jump right in the code and really experience our idea into a meaningful environment. And it has one crazy effect on our team. It kind of bridges the gap between our developer and designer, creating a dev designer. Well, I'm not sure about this one, but the point here is really to create an environment, a playground for all those people to work together early in the process. So what are the advantages of prototyping? Well, what we observed for ourselves, when we started 2 years ago working like that, about 50% of the prototype would go into the final product. But now, doing this over and over and over, well, we gain a bit of experience, and now about 80% of those ideas go actually into the final website or platform. Of course, it gives us the ability to jump right into collaboration with every key players on. And of course, a chance to experiment, have a realistic sense of what you're doing. But the most important thing for me as a creative director, and I can't stress that enough, is really to present your work in context to the client. This is honestly, from my experience, like a magic potion. You show them the iPhone or the device you're working on, and the client can actually project themselves, and everything you've been talking about for 1 month, they're like, oh, I see now. So it really, from that point on, trust is activated with your client, and you can really work together towards your common goals. So we talked about the process, we talked about prototyping, but one thing that ties everything together for us is really being adaptable. So, of course, implementing a process is pretty hard. Inventing one is even harder. I would argue there's no perfect process, but only good collaboration and good communication between people. You can ask your studio director, you can ask ours, Daniel, the guy skiing earlier on. He would probably tell you that we need to adapt all the time. And that's what we do at Locomotive. We're never afraid to bring a UX designer into a dev meeting, bring a dev to the strategy meeting. We try to have as much as people coming in the same room and challenging the ideas. And while you're at it, why not bring the client in the mix and do some workshops and really get the ideas out? But the idea of adapting is really the one thing that I would say is you need to adapt, not the client. So how do we create those meaningful environment for creativity? Well, we have a clear process, like abstract to concrete. We have this planet shaping along to the project. We work in present in context with our prototype. And of course, we're always open to different ways of adapting and collaborating. So this sums up the work hard part. And I think Jeff had a lot to say about the play harder part.
Thanks, Dust.
No problem, man.
That might sound like a strange way to begin a talk about building a meaningful work environment, but the truth is, everyone knows what it's like to feel unappreciated. We've all had those moments in our lives, whether at home or at work, where we felt unvalued. Like me, in this vintage photo of my last trip to Amsterdam. Well, I'd say I've looked quite unnurtured. For this reason and a few more, I'm proud that I get to join such talented humans every day in a meaningful environment where we make sure our employees know how valuable they are. You know that expression, kill them with kindness? I love that expression. It really sums up our approach and the way we treat our employees and our clients. Over the past 12 years, we made the choice to build an environment where our people come first. We do this in many ways, by involving people in challenging and engaging projects, and also by adapting to individual needs and goals, and so much more. Right off the bat, our management choices were motivated by listening to our guts and by a few questions. How about trying to value your employees differently so they don't actually think of leaving? What if they firmly believe they cannot find a better work environment elsewhere? Well, for three partners without much business management background, that's what we've been prototyping over the last decade. Thus, that one's for you.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, indeed. We've been testing on real humans, trying to find the right balance between work and play. You're probably thinking you've heard this song and dances before, and you might be right. Many great companies take their employees on vacation, share a couple beers, celebrate birthday, offer flexible schedule, which is great. I love to see the workplace evolve. So maybe I'm biased, but my guts still tell me we're genuine. Locomotive has this really cool little ecosystem where everybody's involved in challenging and engaging project. And even though it's not a job requirement, I think it says something about our culture that people will become friends naturally. Right, Dust?
Yeah, for real.
But these results haven't been achieved overnight. Building an A-team takes time and trust. Here are three things that have been pretty essential in our management choices and leadership style. Back when we started investing in talent, like this guy I'm standing beside right now, was one of the first steps to build a stronger team of creative thinkers. Basically, we see this as hiring skilled, talented people on top of their game so we can offer a better digital expertise to our client. Then what? How do we keep these people motivated and hungry for creativity? How do we bond them together? How do we create a positive work environment for them to learn and evolve? We do this by choosing people over everything else. To attract more talent, we had to create an environment that will motivate our team to push boundaries. We built a workplace around tolerance, flexibility, and kindness. That's been a big draw for talent. Part of what we offer at Locomotive is that we want to accommodate people as much as we can. We want our people to have time to do other stuff, like spend time with their families and friends, develop their passion and hobbies, and most importantly, leave the office at a decent hour. Just like micro-interaction are popular in UX, a little micro-appreciation can go a long way at the office. We love to reward efforts, clap our hands together to celebrate every victory and every delivered project. We also give our employee the respect of listening. We're a big fan of the one-on-one conversation. This channel has quite a few benefits. It helps us set goals with every employee. It keeps us open to feedback and shared knowledge, and it helps us remain flexible to each person's needs. Whether it's about being a parent, working a shorter week, salary, holiday, even dietary choices, like making sure our vegan peeps enjoy the party food just as much as we do. Hey, Dust, isn't it that personalized UX?
Well, I would argue it's personalized EX.
Very cool. With only 25 people, for sure, our small team helps us to keep the relationship personal and direct, and we want to keep it that way. Our structures is very collaborative. When choosing a project, we try to get them involved as much as we can. We do this for a couple of reasons. We try to get them excited from day one, and we want our people to know they're involved in the big decisions. On that note, when we say we choose project with meanings, here's what we are talking about. How our team relate to it.
Right.
Where this project can lead us.
Vision.
What can we learn from it?
Knowledge.
Thank you, Das, for this sound effect. The third step is that we genuinely try to trigger an emotional response with everyone we work with, within the team, but with our clients as well. Just like everybody, we want to be memorable. Like my mother's always said, make them feel important, because they are really important. So in summary, the big question we constantly ask ourselves about our employees' implication in our workplace: how do we create this specific, meaningful environment? How do we make them part of the journey? Well, we do this by valuing implication. We let them lead their project, and one of the most important ones for me, back them up whatever happens. It is clear that putting people first led to result, or focus on people has eventually led to more productivity, more innovation, more award-winning project, more brand awareness, and more stuff for everyone. Because it's not always about the money, but it does count.
So if you want to see those two environments really come together into a project, I would suggest you go and visit explore.locomotive.ca, which is a collection of micro stories of all our last trips and travels. And this is really it's been an experience where everything we've talked about today was put in that project. So I guess we're done, and thank you for listening. And that was a blast.
See you at the party. Thank you. Good, Bess.